Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most stressful parts of being a student, the scholarship application. We're going to find out what really happens after you click that submit button.
Think about it. You've poured hours, maybe even days, into that application. You've polished every sentence, checked it a dozen times, and then, poof, you send it off into the ether. The waiting, the anxiety, what is actually happening on the other side?
Well, today, consider this your all-access pass. We are going to show you exactly how scholarship committees make their first and honestly, most brutal round of cuts. This is the secret to getting your foot in the door.
Now, I gotta warn you, what I'm about to show you might sting a little, especially after all the hard work you've put in. But trust me, knowing this is the key to giving your application the fighting chance it absolutely deserves. Yup, you're seeing that right. 15 to 30 seconds. That is the entire amount of time your application gets during the first review. In less time than it takes to skip a YouTube ad, a judge makes a split-second decision. Does this move on, or does it hit the rejection pile?
So how in the world can they decide that fast? Well, they're not reading your deeply personal essay or admiring your long list of accomplishments. Not yet, anyway. Right now, they're just running your application through a lightning-fast checklist. Let's call them the 4 filters. And your job is to sail through every single one.
All right, let's dive into the first and, frankly, the most basic filter. Do you actually qualify?
This is the easiest, most black and white question for a judge to answer. There's zero room for debate here. You either meet the non-negotiable requirements or you don't. It's not personal, it's just procedure.
So for example, CS Scholarship Foundation in Southwest Washington gets this incredible application from a student just across the river in Portland, Oregon. It could be the best application they've ever seen, but it's an instant no. Why? Because the donors gave that money specifically for students in their community. Other common deal breakers are things like your enrollment status, your field of study, or specific life circumstances.
So here's the bottom line. Before you write a single word, read the eligibility rules. Then, seriously, read them again. If you don't check every single box, you're just wasting your own precious time.
Okay, you made it past filter 1. You definitely qualify. Now for the second hurdle, which is just as simple. Is the application even complete?
This is another super fast check for the judges. They've got a list of what you're supposed to submit, and they're just looking for anything missing. An incomplete application is the fastest ticket to the no pile because it basically screams, I can't follow directions.
And just look at how easy these mistakes are to avoid. If you forget to include the student aid index page from your FAFSA, they can't verify your financial need. Using a recommendation letter from 3 years ago, that doesn't tell them who you are now. And skipping an essay question, that just tells them you weren't that interested in the first place.
All right, on to filter number 3. This one's all about the first impression. Is your application professional?
Now, this isn't about having some slick, graphic-designed resume. It's about showing that you take this opportunity seriously. In that 30-second scan, judges are looking for little clues that tell them you have respect for their time and for the process itself.
This slide says it all, doesn't it? Who seems more prepared for a serious academic scholarship? Your email address is one of the very first things they see. Something like Partygirl 2006 can completely undermine your credibility before they've even read your name.
And other red flags are just as bad. An application filled with typos just says you didn't care enough to run a spell check. Using 5 different fonts and weird spacing makes it look messy. And if your essay is so generic you could have submitted it to 10 other scholarships, it shows you have no real interest in this specific opportunity.
Here is a game-changing pro tip. Even if you're submitting everything online, print a hard copy of your final application. I'm telling you, errors that your eyes just glaze over on a screen will jump right off the page. Even better, get a fresh pair of eyes on it. A teacher, a parent, a friend, for one last look.
And now for our 4th and final filter, which is a test of a skill that's absolutely crucial. Did you follow every single direction?
Make no mistake, this is a test. Can you follow a simple set of guidelines? It's a huge indicator of your potential for success in college and beyond. When a committee sees that you respected every little instruction, it tells them you're responsible, detail-oriented, and probably a great candidate to invest in. If the essay prompt says 500 words, don't write 750. You're not impressing them with your extra thoughts, you're just showing them you can't follow rules. If they ask for a PDF, don't send a Word doc. These are such small things, but they are easy wins that prove you pay attention. So if you've made it through all 4 of those filters, you qualify, it's complete, it looks professional, and you followed the directions, then seriously, congratulations. You have officially survived the 30-second scan. Your application is now in a much, much smaller pile. You're in the real competition now, where your story actually gets to be heard.
So let's run through that one more time with a quick checklist. First, verify all eligibility rules. Second, complete every single required section. Third, use a professional email address. Fourth, proofread, and then proofread again. Fifth, follow every instruction to the letter. And sixth, submit before the deadline. Think of this as your ticket past the bouncer.
You now know the secret handshake. You're armed with the knowledge to get past that first brutal cut and land in the finalist pool. So the real question is, are you ready for the deep dive that comes next?